You're going on live now.
Okay.
Working draft.
Yep.
Okay, welcome everybody to our first submissions committee via live stream. So just a reminder for all to have our cell phones turned off, and if we have additional members of our board attending after this, I will remind others as they come along. So please forgive me because I'm going to be switching from screen to screen, going from the run sheet then to draft, submission, etc. So first of all, let's have a look at this. Where are we? First of all, if we can have, we've got we're going to accept the apologies now. So do we have any apologies? We've got one from Gamal for early departure around 6:20 p.m. and if we're still going, he may come back after what he has to do. So I can move those apologies. Anybody second those?
I'll second those.
I haven't received any from Mike or Helen. Oh, here's Helen. Helen, can you just take your microphone off mute for a moment, please?
Right.
Helen, I've just reminded everybody to ensure that your cell phones are turned off for the meeting, please. Thank you. And has anybody received any other apologies?
No.
Okay. Right. Okay. So I've moved them. Mark, you seconded that.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. All those in favour? Okay. Thank you.
Aye.
Great. Declarations of interest for the submission. Anybody got any declarations of interest? Okay, none. Right, we are wanting to, what I'm proposing to do is that we suspend standing orders for this meeting, which will mean that we will still have speaking orders, but we'll just allow the conversation to flow.
Mm-hmm.
So all those in favour of suspending standing orders for this meeting?
We'll need a mover and a seconder, Debbie.
Oh, mover.
I'll move.
Helen move. Anybody second?
Second.
Gamal seconding that.
Thank you.
Okay, all those in favour?
Aye.
Say aye. Any noes? Thank you. So we will have a speaking order. So please use your electronic hands. I can see your electronic hands and I will be writing down the speaking order, but feel free if somebody's talking about something and you're wanting to follow on that particular subject, just to interject in a good timing manner. I also just want to welcome anybody from the public that may be viewing or coming into our meeting also. It's a bit unusual to be doing this via Zoom. Anyway, so I've covered off the electronic hands if you're wanting to speak. Just want to, Gamal, would you mind just muting your, thank you, excellent. Just want to highlight, and just for the purposes of anybody, members of the public that are viewing the submissions committee and what this is about, I'm just wanting to highlight a few things for them. This consists of 6 community board members, not councillors. The reason for that is because councillors are the decision makers. And so we just have 2 from each ward, 2 from Riccarton, Hornby and Halswell. Still waiting on Mike. He still may come. I'm not sure. I haven't heard. So we've done the apologies. Right. Now, just to highlight that this we have as a board already had a briefing on this submissions committee. So, and this is based from the long-term plan. So it's like we're tweaking what we're really wanting to draw from the long-term plan. It's not that we can add anything from the long-term plan into our annual plan. This isn't the place to do that. So that it's not able to happen at this stage, but at a later date. We are just one entity that's doing a submission. So we are just a community board doing a submission on the annual plan, and anybody across the whole of Christchurch can also have their say and do a submission like we are. We're doing a joint one, and if you're a group, you can do a joint group one, etc. All you need to do is go to CCC, have your say, and you will find a link to the annual plan to have your say on the matter. And you have until the 18th of April in which to do that when the submissions close. So once again, tonight's meeting is just about tweaking the long-term plan and just to formalise what we as a board have previously chatted about. And we've already done the suspending orders. I will also remind our meeting periodically through the meeting that we have suspended standing orders, and the reason for that is because if somebody does come through halfway through the meeting or a quarter of the way through the meeting, they might think this is a pretty informal meeting, and it is. And that the reason that it is because we've suspended our standing orders. So I may repeat myself about 2 or 3 times during the meeting for that purpose. If I don't, feel free to remind me. So that's me. Now, we all have our draft annual plan that Faye has kindly drafted up for us, and the reason I'm looking down is because I'm trying to utilise 2 screens here. So the first one that we'd like to look at is the 2.1.1. Has everybody got the draft document open in front of them?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, great.
Are we going to screen share what we're discussing here, Faye?
This is a draft document for the board only.
Yeah, so I hadn't planned on it.
Yeah.
It was a draft that was drafted. It's more or less notes from the workshop.
Yeah.
But can everybody see it? Anyway, that's.
Yep, I've got it.
I can, yeah. I've got a separate screen though, so.
So basically, just to summarise for others who don't have this draft, because there are some things that we aren't going to be talking about that are on this. So 2.1.1 is that the board noted that the new general rate differential proposed for vacant central city land, and accepts that this could encourage owners to develop vacant areas as well as help offset the increase of residential rates. Is anybody wanting to expand on that, or just to leave that in? Is anybody wishing to comment further on that? We all agree to leave that in, or are you wanting some change? Some wording?
We're happy to support as is.
Yeah.
Build it or get out.
Sorry, what's that?
I'm happy to support it as is. Build a development or get out. Get on with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Helen, your hand is up.
Yes, look, I don't want to change it, but I'm not sure that we understand the implications of it. But we haven't done that work on it. So if people feel that's the best thing to do, let's leave it in.
You want to leave it in and leave it for the council.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Helen. Just remember to take your hand down.
Yes, I know. Lower hand.
Right. Excellent. Thank you. And so 2.1.2 is okay, it's in regards to the rates. So are we all wanting to leave that in? It's emphasising the difficulty of rates, how residents are currently suffering significant financial hardship, and to provide support where possible for those struggling to pay increased rates. I did mention at our workshop that there are currently rates rebate available through the Internal Affairs Department, and the council are simply the administrators of that. Helen?
Yes, look, I think it's fine what's there. I've always been an advocate of keeping rates in line with the construction price index, but I have checked what that is, and it's 8.2%. So what in fact
don't ask for that.
We sort of can't argue that anymore. So in some ways they've done well to keep it at 4.7 or yes. And have construction work done.
Yeah, I think it's worded well. And
Yep.
it acknowledges the struggles people are having, and I think it's about right.
Thank you. Mark, were you wanting to add something?
No, I'm supportive of it. It's worded well, covering off the hardship and access to assistance where we can. It's good.
Yep. So we're just talking about maintaining, and capping the rates, etc. there. And for anybody who's viewing, of course, all this will come out in the minutes as well. So the full details. Are we wanting to read these out? I hear what you're saying, Andre, about the screen sharing. Do you want me to shall I just read that out?
Oh, I mean, no. It's just the key points you feel we need to. But we've all got what we need here, so all good.
It's just a working document, Andre. That's the thing. It's not a foregone conclusion or anything. So
okay. So now we're at 2.1.3. The board supports the proposed change to the revenue and finance policy.
Yep, I'm talking about development contributions. Development areas where is good.
To help fund related council works. Are we able to suggest that we put the developers' contributions up a little bit? No. I'm just saying there's so much maintenance that is left behind once developments occur. It's left for the council, and then we're struggling to keep on top of the maintenance, aren't we? We hear that constantly with parks. Constantly. I mean, I'm out there looking after council land myself, and so are many other people, and we're paying our rates for that. And anyway, that's another avenue. I've often thought that if we're doing that, we should be getting a refund or a rebate on our jolly rates, because we're contributing for that. So that's just about your development contributions, where they are most needed. And do we want to add to that something along those lines, that where they are most needed, e.g. park maintenance? Do we, as an example? Often they like examples, don't they, Helen? The council.
I don't know. I'm not sure if we could use it for maintenance, actually. I think it's more for projects. So if you're taking development contributions and you want to fund a new park or library, it goes to that.
No, I'm talking about the say a development has occurred, and then the relevant streets are vested over to the council 2 years later.
Yeah,
sorry, Andre.
I mean, the Milnes Sparks Island Road will be a classic example. There's a retirement village being built as we speak, with no intersection improvements in another 5 years. So that's
yes.
like a critical piece of infrastructure. So it might be a good example.
Critical infrastructure.
Well, yeah, that's great. I mean, and I mean that's been on our radar for a long time, but more so now because of the construction going on. But I'm talking specifically like, you know, actual developments like.
So there is a development contributions policy, isn't there? I think that talks about where it goes and kind of, you know, what's allocated. So all we highlighted in our discussion was that we would like to see more of it go to the developing areas. So do you want to be specific about where it goes to in those developing areas, or just leave that a bit open?
You just mentioned the importance of making sure that when developments go in, that the local infrastructure is adequate and built in a, you know, when it needs to be.
Yes.
And citing this intersection as an example of not keeping up. Yeah, I think that would be pretty reasonable. Reasonable to write.
So we want something along the lines of, it's important to make sure that when developments go in or are completed or whatever, contributions are used promptly, or a word along those lines.
Well, I mean, it's like the example I've talked to you about, Faye, about when the developments, when they're vesting over streets and then the land is all left behind. It's like, surely the funds of that development can be utilised for maintenance, put into that as well. Or are we talking infrastructure? Or
well, I was thinking. So what I've noted down there, my words, you know, free to change. Important to make sure that when development contributions go in, developments go in, contributions are used promptly to ensure supporting infrastructure is provided as soon as possible, or something along those lines. Is that what you're after?
I think it would be good to give that example that Andre used, actually.
Yeah,
so it's an actual concrete example of development, but you don't have the infrastructure there at the time.
Yeah, I think what you've written, Faye, is really good. I mean, it could even just add the word maintenance as well, like Debbie's mentioned. I think that would be fine.
Supporting infrastructure as well, and ongoing maintenance is undertaken. Something.
Specific park maintenance and infrastructure. I agree. If we can just add that as examples, the FA would be much appreciated.
Yeah, and we will we'll tidy up the wording after this, I assume.
And the intersection's a classic example, being budgeted for 5 years after, so that's a perfect example to use, I reckon.
So I think we refer to that intersection later on, so we'll perhaps cross-reference the two paragraphs too.
Yeah, I think so.
Brilliant.
Nice.
I'm just going to repeat myself again from the beginning of the meeting. Helen, you may not have been here, but I will be interjecting every now and then and just reminding viewers who might be viewing our submissions committee that we have suspended standing orders for our meeting, which means it's an informal kind of meeting and that it's more of an informal discussion. But we will have speaking orders, etc. But feel free to interject when you wish. Okay, so just moving on. 2.2 proposed changes to revenue spending and borrowing. We're flagging the 2.2.1. We've all agreed on that. So thank you so much for all your responses on that.
So can I just check? It's actually going, isn't it? It's being removed. 2.2.1.
Been removed off our submission.
Good, that's fine.
Yeah.
It was probably my mistake in including it in the first place.
No, not at all. It was something that we discussed in our workshop, and it's just out of our area it's not in any of our wards, so we just felt that we'll leave that with the council to decide what to do there. 2.2.2, that the board supports inclusion of the $1.8 $1.8 million in the plan for implementation of government resources management, enabling the housing supply and other matters.
So this is for the consultation on the intensification changes that are to be made, and that's, I think, going out on the 11th of April for consultation, but that's the funding for that consultation and to implement any changes, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Helen, you wish to say?
Yes, I just want to add that I looked very carefully over this one Saturday afternoon and did make a submission to council on it, but I had missed, it's quite complex. In residential 14, it talks about buildings going to 3 stories, but they didn't mention the fact that areas around a key activity centre are likely to go to 6 stories. So I just want to make people aware that there's 2 bits. Everyone's going to 3 stories, and I'm opposed to this actually, but everyone's going to 3 stories, but the areas around commercial centres are going to 6 stories. And I don't think it's very clear.
And it's also key transport routes, isn't it?
It's transport routes, yeah.
Which is exactly where we need intensification.
Oh.
Where was that, Andre?
Right by key transport routes and by large commercial centres, exactly where intensification is needed. But this is an issue we're never going to agree on, so I'm not prepared to spend too much time on this.
But just be aware when you've got the public or talking about it that there's 2 possibilities, either 3 stories or 6 stories.
Well, the thing is that the public, just as a reminder for anybody who is viewing in this and is tired of the intensification that's going on, etc., this is an opportunity where they can have a say on the annual plan.
There's a separate consultation on the intensification provisions coming up. It's going to be notified on the 11th of April. So actually the board will have a chance then to have its say on that, and as will everybody else.
Right. Yep. So we'll do another submission on that.
We'll have another committee meeting then. Yep.
Okay, 2.2.3 regarding Gilberthorpe's Road. Is everybody happy with that?
Yes.
Absolutely must, yes.
Okay, great. So thank you for that, Faye. Capital Program 2.3. It's not for the advancement road. Oh, yes, lovely. The board notes that the plan does provide for advancement road improvements to the intersection of Milnes, Sutherlands and Sparks, Project 1344, that are currently programmed for beyond 2025. The board considers that this work needs to be completed sooner than currently programmed and seeks to have this included in the plan for the completion in the 2000. I totally agree with that. Andre, no doubt will.
Yes.
This has been a real problem for many, many years. I've lived in the ward for 37 years and it's very problematic. And as you've outlined many times, Andre, the growth and the huge development going on there, we need something, and whether it's lights or not, we're not sure. We'll leave that for the traffic engineers. But is there any way anybody is wishing to have this emphasised more strongly in our submission?
Can I suggest just adding to the wording the retirement village being built right beside it, along with hundreds of homes, but also in the plan currently, so there's Sparks Road improvements, so they'll be between the end of the cycleway and traffic lights on Sparks Road and Halswell Road. Now those Sparks Road improvements are budgeted for this year and next year, so there'll be safe pedestrian and cycle link all the way along. However, this intersection right in the middle of all of that isn't budgeted for another 5 years. So it doesn't actually make a whole lot of sense. I honestly wonder sometimes it's just been an oversight somewhere, but it's not making any sense at all. So I think just emphasising that these Sparks Road improvements already budgeted for the next 2 years.
So to preserve continuity, this work really needs to be done. this
at
year.
the same time. Yeah,
Yeah.
otherwise,
Yes,
surely it would
so-
cost
so-
more to do it separately. Surely.
I know.
So
Do it once,
perfect,
do it
perfect
right.
word there, Faye. For continuity, what was it you said? For continuity would be the
This
perfect-
works needs to be done at the same time as the
Yeah,
Sparks Road works.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which, as I say, are budgeted over the next 2 financial years.
Yeah.
And
So
and
mentioning that and the retirement village,
Yes, I think
Yep.
so.
I think-
I think is the way to go.
how do you all feel about adding that we feel that bringing this forward is really important for obvious safety?
I think it's critical actually to bring it
Mm.
forward. Seems silly.
It's critical because of safety. We haven't mentioned that in there. And so if the council read that, they're not going to they may understand it, but if we can word it so that it is critical, as Helen said, it is critical. It's been critical for many years, but it's even more critical now. We have managed to reduce the speed down there, but I'm assuming it'll be dropped lower again in time to come. But it is critical that this is brought forward.
Yes.
So we could tie that in with the comment about the construction of the neighbouring retirement village.
Yes.
So is it critical for pedestrian and vehicular traffic? Is that what we're saying?
It's critical for pedestrians, it's critical for cyclists, and it's critical for vehicle usage.
you.
I biked down there the other day myself, and I did not feel safe at all. And I thought, what am I doing riding along here? But I had to keep going. There's no way out. So I am just wondering, I have noticed your hand there, Mark, I'll be with you in a moment. Are we able to, I really feel strongly about the emphasis of the criticalness. Can we, at the beginning of that paragraph, put, we feel this is critical in capitals? Are we able to do that, Faye?
Yeah, of course we are. Yep.
Is everybody happy with that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you. Mark, you had something to add?
Yeah, just to add into there that this is the old do it once, do it right adage, that while they're doing Sparks Road and with the phenomenal growth in the area, this is critical to be done now and get it right first time.
Yeah, there's just something really not making sense about the whole thing and how things are timed, but yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely agree. Okay, so we're all on the same page there with that. Anything else anybody's wishing to add on that? So that was for beyond 2025, and we're asking for it to be done now, basically. So thank you, everybody, on that. So 2.3.2, the flooding issues in Goulding Ave, Hornby.
Yeah.
That provision is made to address this problem. We've been working on that for some time, haven't we, Mark?
We certainly have, although
Has it-
to be fair,
Right.
to
Is it
be
still not
fair to the staff, it does seem to have alleviated by doing some very regular maintenance over recent times. But if there's still an underlying issue, then yes, we do need to have that budgeted to be remedied once and for all, which is what we've been lobbying for.
So I think we're making a point here, really, because we were told that there was money in the budget to do it this year, and it may in fact still be, but it's not programmed in. So that's what we need to see, I think,
Absolutely. We've got to see it finished off. Absolutely.
Okay, so we're all happy with the wording of that?
Yes.
Yep.
Great, thank you.
I wonder if this is a opportunity to raise another project I spotted in the annual plan and see whether we can't bring it forward. It was on page 122 of the annual plan.
Long-term plan, is that, Mark? Long-term plan?
In the annual plan document.
The draft document? Yeah, okay, thank you. Yep.
And it was the Springs Road, Awatea, Amy's intersection was budgeted for work in 24, 25 or later. It was 1.57 million. And whether there's a way we can look at getting that brought forward. And one of the, I guess, projects to look to push back and perhaps reassign the costings from could well be on page 114. There's a Gloucester Street project number 18371, whether that, which I've, through discussion with other elected members, come to believe is actually would be nice to do, but it's not actually critical work. The area there is actually quite usable and doesn't really need the beautification that's being proposed in 18371.
So are you wanting to add something here, Mark? Because this isn't on that draft.
Please.
No.
Yep.
It's not on a draft.
It isn't. Well, both of those projects I've just spoken about are in the draft annual plan. So it's bringing one.
No, I meant draft that we
No.
had on our workshop. So
Well, this
can I leave? So
Cool.
so sorry, we were talking on the Goulding Ave. So you were talking about a completely different subject.
Yep, it is. I mean, I'm happy Goulding Ave as it's there is good.
Okay, so can I just leave for any other additional things that you were wanting to perhaps add into the annual plan? Can we leave that to the end, and then
Sure.
I'll ask for additions? Is that okay? Just so that we can follow through on the. Is that cool? Just so we don't
Absolutely.
get going through. Thanks, and just take note of that, Mark, and I'll just write here any additions at the end.
Very good.
Lovely, thank you, Mark. So we're all happy with the Goulding Ave proposal there. Okay. Faye, do you have that staff response on the park and ride?
Yes. Can you just bear with me a minute?
Yes, no, that's fine. And whilst you're looking for that, this was just to summarise, as part of its long-term annual plan submissions, the board sought provision for a park and ride facility in the southwest. The staff response to the submission pointed out. Oh, you have got that written down.
To be honest, that is the gist of what it said, yes.
Yes. Well, that's true. I just thought, the staff response to the submission pointed out, and we do have it there in the background, that a business case supporting investment in the public transport endorsed by the council in December 2020 did not identify park and ride facilities as a cost-effective measure to improve bus patronage across Greater Christchurch as a whole, compared with other alternatives such as increasing bus frequency, improvements to bus priority, and improvements to bus stop infrastructure, and noted that park and ride facilities were recommended in the Selwyn district and Waimakariri district, which obviously come into our area. So there's a greater need for them there. Term plans, the board considers, however, that the distance many residents need to travel to access reliable passenger transport services is a hindrance to them changing from private motor vehicle uses to bus, and suggest that provision of park and ride facilities in association with passenger transport improvements that are being made crucial to maximising use of passenger transport services.
So basically, what I'm saying,
basically, the if we had the staff response there, I'll be needing those other staff responses too for the further ones that I sent you in emails a week or two ago. But basically, if I recall, the board, the staff response was that they have already exhausted the looking into this matter and don't see it as a viable situation for this area. Can anyone else recollect anything? Helen?
Yes. When I was on council, and this years ago, 2004, I would say, we've been on about park and ride in Horsehall for years. And for some reason, or it's probably some reason, the staff are actually against it. I mean, it's worth putting is in fact in, but I don't see any great change coming. I mean, it's 20 years.
The thing is, it's already been exhaustively looked into by staff.
Yeah.
And I always recall Mike saying, try and focus on the quick wins rather than asking for something you're not going to get anyway.
Yes. I mean, I'm relaxed if we put it in, but it has been a long-standing issue and we have got nowhere on it. So unless someone someone or the board can do something differently, it's just going to stay as an aspiration for this board, and nothing happens.
And I think the issues is that we're struggling, and being Southwest doesn't necessarily mean Halswell anyway. We all know that the Southwest Leisure Centre is now in Hornsby, so Southwest doesn't necessarily mean Halswell at all. But the staff I can't quite.
No,
you don't have it there, Faye. But anyway, basically they've said that it's been exhausted. So, are we wanting this in our submission or not?
I mean, I think the wording there is fine as a reminder. It'd be good for our board to actually be sort of provided with what that exhaustive investigation looked like, what they did investigate, the findings that come out of it.
I think we've had briefings on it.
I know I've touched on it briefly at briefings before.
It might have been before your time. Sorry.
I imagine there would have been some before that time as well. But I mean, the wording isn't actually asking for a whole lot, but it's a worthwhile reminder because the issue likely isn't going to go away, particularly with the fact that we've got. Yeah, I mean, particularly the fact that there's bus lanes going in all the way to Halswell, but there's thousands of people in Halswell that don't actually live near a bus stop. So, I think how it's been worded makes sense.
I think the aim was just to flag that actually the board doesn't agree. Really, this is maybe staff view, but the board doesn't agree.
Yeah, well, I've never been provided any evidence that it couldn't, shouldn't, and won't work. So until I'm provided with that
look,
evidence,
I can see both sides, to be honest, because like I mentioned at the workshop, back in my day when we caught a bus, we just parked down the road on any road close to a bus stop and then just jumped on the bus.
I think that part of the issue is that the bus lanes now are taking away a lot of parking too.
And developments being built with small narrow streets with no parks as well. So,
okay, so we're in agreement to leave that in, guys.
I think so. Yes.
I think the wording's okay. It's not it's not asking or expecting we're going to get something.
And the point I'd make, if we'd done this in 2004, that the land would have been very cheap. So the longer we actually leave it, the more expensive the land.
Yeah,
so I'm frustrated on this. Yeah.
And what land?
Well, if you have parking rights, you'd have to have some land. And back in 2004 would have been much cheaper.
See, I don't think it actually needs to. I think we also need to consider, public-private partnerships here and businesses who want to bring more business to them. It might have, some spaces where car parks could be available during the day. But anyway, we'll leave that an issue for another time. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll leave that in then, guys. All right. Mark, I'm assuming you might wish to have something to say, perhaps. 2.3.4, we all happy with that, about the South Express Major Cycleway through High is to be brought forward. We're requesting it's been to be brought forward.
Well, the cycleway is being brought forward.
The board maintained it. The board maintained it should not be done. Why does it say it should not be done?
I think basically what we're saying there is that as it's being proposed to be brought forward, we need to ensure that the Waterloo-Gilberthorpe's intersection is treated at the same time rather than being ignored and the cycleway pushed through. So,
it sounds a bit like our Milne Sparks intersection. It's quite if it's all being done together.
Yep, and the community have spoken to us a number of times about this. So we've just got to make sure it gets done at the same time, or hey, hold up the cycleway until you can get this intersection included.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that's what we've said. Do you think it's clear enough, Mark?
Yep, absolutely. I think it's spelled pretty clearly there that,
Yeah.
you know, for goodness sake, don't do the cycleway without doing this improvement.
Okay, thank you. 2.3.5. Faye, have you got that staff response on the dog park I sent you through for tonight's meeting?
Debbie, I think so. Bear with me. It's just my technological skills are limited, as we all know, but I am doing my best to bring it up.
No, that's fine. I'm just
You're doing
trying
a good
to
job.
hear myself.
It is it that one? Is it visible? No.
I can send it through to you again.
I have it, and I have it on my screen. It says I'm screen sharing, but can nobody else see it?
We can see a screen share there.
You can?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So we just want to scroll down to the dog park. Sorry. Sorry about this. Park and ride. That's what we just talked about. There we go. Dog park for
Lovely.
Southwest.
Okay, so this subject has come up in its community board plan. The board undertakes to advocate for a creation of a fenced dog park in the Halswell area as a board priority. There is $30,000 in the long-term plan for 2031 for investigation of a site, and 200,000 in financial year 2032 for the project. The board seeks to have this project that has been requested by many community members advanced. I'm not sure who these you can, I just want to highlight the staff response there just so that we can then get off the screen sharing. So this has already been looked into. There were several submissions asking for dedicated dog exercise areas, not an actual fenced area, exercise areas. Funding for a dog park in the southwest of Christchurch is beyond the 10-year scope of the LTP long-term plan and would require substitution with another new development in order to implement earlier. So it's whether or not we want to take something off our annual plan in order to facilitate bringing this forward. However, there is an existing off-leash dog exercise area within Halswell Quarry Park. All other parks, including large stormwater retention basins, are available to exercise dogs off the leash, so long as they are under effective control, unless the parks are specifically identified as requiring leash or dogs are prohibited. Okay, thanks for that screen sharing, Faye.
Take it away.
Yes, thank
so,
you.
So I would be.
So just highlighting that prior to discussion, I'm not sure who these many community members are, because
I could introduce you to them.
Yeah, and likewise, I've been out there this week actually to the dog park, and I haven't had any targeted questions. I've just asked how they've enjoyed it, and I've just asked if they've wanted a fenced dog park, and many have said they feel like it's fenced anyway at the quarry, because when you have a look around, it's huge. I mean, it's massive, as you know. And they said it's so relaxing for their dogs, and it feels fenced because the huge trees all the way around. There's no cars, no traffic noise for the animals. And so perhaps I was getting a different understanding from who I was talking to. So have your say there, Andre?
It's something I hear very, very regularly about the need for it, because there's regular dog control issues in all parts of Halswell, in all parks from Westlake and Halswell Domain, as well as the quarry, regular dog control issues. And a lot of these would be well, they would be reduced substantially if there was a fenced dog park area in the southwest of Christchurch. But with the growth in the area and how big Halswell and Hornby and Riccarton are, an area in the quarry which isn't fenced isn't sufficient for the southwest of Christchurch as a whole. So the nearest dog parks, fenced dog parks, are Rolleston or the Groins, a 6 mil. They're not close to the southwest of Christchurch at all. So I don't think what we've got at the quarry is sufficient. But the point I'd be making about the plans here is there was funding in a long-term plan previously for a dog park in the 2025 year for the southwest of Christchurch. In our board submission last year on the long-term plan, we were asking for a dog park to be brought forward. Unfortunately, it wasn't listened to, and that plan was pushed back for the 2031 year. So we never asked for it to be pushed back 6 years. We're asking for it to stay where it was.
Oh, in 2025, did you say?
Well, that's what it was originally in the long-term plan as.
Mm-hmm.
It got pushed back 6 years. That was certainly against our board's wishes, and it's something that's been in our community board priorities for this term. And those priorities were put together when we went out with the survey to Halswell residents about what issues, they would like to see prioritised. Dog park was very, very, very high up there, along with community safety and a well-connected community and building the, safer roads and everything we need. From memory, dog park was right up there as third. I'd need to check it again, but really high up there. So,
in fact, that dog exercise area at Halswell Quarry is so large you could almost build one within there, couldn't you? It's so huge.
I think the overall point though is that it's not sufficient for the entire southwest of Christchurch, and it would be ideal for Hornby and Riccarton residents to have something a lot closer. Even where I am is still a fair few kilometres away from the quarry. So I ideally would have a site, possibly around the Cars Road sort of area, which is a site that's right sort of smack bang in between Halswell, Hornby and Riccarton, and serve the entire southwest of Christchurch really well with a fenced, purpose-built dog park area. It would be so well utilised, and it would reduce the amount of dog control issues around the Halswell area as well. I honestly, I hear it all the time about the need for a fenced dog park. I don't see council bringing it forward anyway, but it may as well still be there in our submission.
So they've got it in for 2031 now.
Well, this is what I mean. It got pushed back 6 years. So
we're talking about an annual plan as in the next year.
Yeah.
And you're talking about how it was in the plan for 2025. Are you still saying you want it brought forward from 2025 to this annual plan?
I mean,
or are you wanting to request that it stays where it was originally in the 2025? The reason I'm asking, I'll let you pause there for your thoughts. The reason I'm asking is because I had a chat with Halswell councillor Anne Galloway on the matter, and because of their conversations that they were having at council, and she didn't mind me sharing this today, which was that this has already been discussed at length by the council, and she herself is satisfied with that staff response that we pulled up on the screen there before. And the councillors and the staff feel there are other pressing issues. So the reason I am asking is because if we ask for it to be put in this annual plan, we might be pushing our luck. Whereas if we ask for it to be brought back to where it was originally, it might be more validated.
I'd be quite comfortable with that.
Yeah. So what I've actually said, sorry, Debbie.
It might undo that red statement that we had up before, because by the time it's 2025, it's exactly where we had it marked for.
Yeah, I mean, for me this year, I'm really trying and pushing for the one issue, which is that intersection.
Yeah.
I'm mindful that we won't be able to ask too many things in
Yeah.
an annual plan, but I think just making mention of the fact that it was once in that 25 year, and you know, we certainly didn't ask it to be pushed back 6 years. I think just making asking for it this year is probably not realistic.
So all we've got in there at present is pointing out that it is identified as a board priority in the board community board plan, and I've just put in there that it seeks to have the project advanced. I haven't got.
Yeah, you could put advanced, noting that it was in the previous long-term plan for 2025.
Can do that.
Yes, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, and push back, you know, regardless of the board's submissions in the past regarding it.
But is that being advanced? I'm thinking we need to use the right words there, because advanced, it's not really advanced. We want it to maintain where it was originally.
Well, advanced from where it is now, though.
Yeah, well, if you put advanced, noting that it was in the 25 year, you know, I guess that makes mention of sort of, you know, more along the lines of where we wanted it. Yeah,
previously proposed for the 2025,
and that's where the funding is. Sorry.
I was just going to say, and I wonder whether we change the wording from Halswell to the southwest area again to take that focus off Halswell.
Well, currently it's a board priority for Halswell in our board plan.
Yeah.
The staff response was referring to southwest, wasn't it?
Well, originally it was in the long-term plan for the southwest, not Halswell specifically. Whereas on our board plan this time it's Halswell, but. And around that 24-25 year, I mean, that's when money is in the budget for work around that Cars Road area. So, it would probably make sense to be sitting around that time. But I think that wording would be enough. That phase mentioned. Yeah,
we can play around with the words subsequently to tidy it up. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for that input. So you will have that all sussed. So just once again, I'm just reiterating partway through the meeting that we have suspended standing orders for this meeting, which is, as a lot of people may have already noticed, it's more of a casual, informal setting. Right, so we have now passed on the dog park. So now we're talking about the board at the request. How are we placed for the 2.3.6 about the Riccarton War Memorial?
Can I make one point there? I think the Historic Places Trust needs to be defined as the Canterbury Historic Places Trust, because the national body used to be Historic Places Trust, and then it's moved to Heritage New Zealand. And I think the Canterbury Historic Place, this is a local, we could say the local Historic Places Trust.
Noted, Helen, and I will check out the proper name.
Yes, would you? Thank you. Because it sounds slightly more official than it probably is. Yeah,
I will check out what their current name is, so to speak.
Yes. But other than that, I think it's fine. And our recommendation was to keep the retention of the library site. So, now Canterbury Historic Places Trust came in over that, and I think the council's put on hold the demolition of the Upper Riccarton War Library, and that's fine. I mean, that's actually a council call.
Yep.
But at the very least, we must retain that library land. Yes.
When they doing some discussions with the RSA, the last we heard?
I think so, Mark.
Correct.
So I think initially the initially the staff sort of discussion with RSA didn't bring forward any interest. So I think the RSA's position may have changed, but that's being explored at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for that. We update there too, Helen. We've just got a couple more items here on our draft, and then we'll go into anything that anybody may wish to add to the annual plan that we hadn't prior discussed. So now we're on to the Templeton Playground on Kirk Road. Now that was so basically we're asking for the seeking renewal of the deteriorated playground. This was programmed for the 2026 year, and we are requesting and we support as a board that we bring this forward to 2022 to 2023. Are we all happy with that?
Absolutely.
I've seen photos, and it's pretty.
It's shocking.
When I was out doing community patrol and that, it was just quite dilapidated. So it would be quite good to put that in our annual plan for this year.
Absolutely.
So looking into that a wee bit further, Debbie, too, I'll talk with staff because, they have this general kind of playground renewal program that, so we'll see what they're looking at within that, but
see how we go.
If nothing else, we'll put it in here. If nothing's happening sooner,
I mean, if they can find a maintenance budget to get some, partial renewal in there to make it workable, would be better than nothing.
Okay, thank you.
Sometimes if we pause a little bit listening to you, Mark, I'm just not sure if anyone else is having trouble hearing you as well. You freeze a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. Right, thank you for that. So we're all supportive of that playground renewal. Fantastic. The other thing here too is the Sockburn assets. Identifies the revitalisation of the Sockburn assets. The demolition of the former Sockburn Service Centre and outbuildings now has been completed, but the rehabilitation of Sockburn Park and its restoration for use by the local community still needs to be completed. The board is concerned that more than 10 years after the earthquakes, the removal of damaged pools, swimming pools, from Sockburn Park and rehabilitation of the area has not yet taken place. This work is important for the residents of Sockburn to move forward, and the board therefore seeks. This would be a great area for a dog park, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
Southwest, we're needing them, But anyway, so we're all happy with that, Mark?
Yeah. One comment I got there is around where it says more than 10 years after the earthquakes. Could we perhaps, instead of mentioning that, perhaps put it as more than 15 years since Sockburn Pool was vacated?
Decommissioned. Yeah. So could we add that, Faye? It's been more than 15 years.
Is it since the pool was decommissioned, or?
Yeah, which is what, 2006, I think it was?
Okay, yep.
Since the pool was decommissioned.
More than 15 years. It's crazy.
Yep, I'll make that change.
Actually,
it's been brought to our attention by many people in the community, actually, over that.
Yes. Can I say that this was one of the similar one to Edgware Pool? Edgware Pool had a huge community uprising, and Sockburn Pool didn't get much comment, but it was the same time. So they were both smaller pools were recommended to be decommissioned.
Yeah.
I think Warranoi Pool. I mean, not Warranoi. Sockburn Pool was huge, much larger. But anyway, it wasn't supported to carry on. Anyway, that's a different subject. So we're all happy. You're going to put that addition in there.
That change, certainly.
From the 15 years since the decommissioning of the Sockburn Pool. Excellent. Thanks for highlighting that, Mark.
Yeah.
And
this is an issue that was raised with me before I was elected, actually.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. It's been around on the agenda for too long.
We have had members of the public coming to us on a regular occasion to talk to us about that area. It's been quite sad to see it just fall by the way like that. Okay, our last item before we go to additions is the Kyle Street Riccarton is a short street in need of renewal. Other similar streets in the vicinity have been or are to be renewed. The board flags that this is likely to seek the renewal of Kyle Street be included in the 2023-2024 annual plan. So
Yes.
it's not in our annual plan, we're just wanting to highlight it for 2023-2024, is that correct, Helen?
Yes. Now, Faye, can I make some changes here? The reason that I'm asking for this is that Seaton Street is being done under our Capital Works project. That's a very short street and it's got largely state housing around it, but very short. Kyle Street is the Pear Street, so there's only 2 streets there and they're both short. And we've asked it to be done in the capital project, but if it can't be done, it must be done at some point because Kyle Street goes into Niwa. So it's actually a state housing area, and it's a very small cul-de-sac which goes in, is the main entrance of, in fact, Niwa. So I just want it, and so I think we have to change that. So it's not other streets, it's Seaton Street is being done under the Capital Works project.
Well, it hasn't.
And I think they should be doing Kyle Street as well. But if they don't want to, they'll have to do it in the annual plan.
That's the CRAF program, Helen, that
Yes.
the board signs off on, and it hasn't been signed off yet. So I mean, I guess there is an opportunity to include Kyle Street, but it would mean taking out one of the other projects that the board had.
Yes, but have you found out what it costs to do Seaton Street? Because
No, they haven't come back to me, sorry.
would you chase that up? Because Seaton Street will be the same, about the same price as Kyle Street. They're both the same size. So can we just say that we need Kyle Street done as a short street in need of renewal? Seaton Street is being done under the Capital Works.
Well, the
project.
thing is, it's not been signed off yet, Helen. That
No,
CRAF program.
but just say it's indicated, and we think they should be done at the same time. But if not, we want to flag Kyle Street for the next annual plan.
So are we asking for it to be done at the same time, or
Well,
just flagging it?
For preference, yes. They're both very short cul-de-sacs, and they're very run down, and it's almost embarrassing.
Hey, come look at Hornby sometime.
Have a look at this. It's the worst street I've seen. Anyway. Yeah, I mean, there's probably, it's the worst street in Riccarton, I'd say.
Yeah, probably matches most of Hornby. We've got a lot of
Okay.
So if you change that wording, it's fine.
Well, if I put
So
something, Helen, like Kyle Street, Riccarton is a short street in need of a renewal. A similar street, Seaton, is likely to be renewed by way of the CRAF program
That's
funding. Yeah, and take that out instead of the other similar streets. Put
Yes.
that in instead of, okay.
And then say, look, we'd like Kyle Street done when Seaton Street's done, but if that can't be done, we want to flag it for.
Yeah, the board would like to see the 2 streets renewed together at the same time,
If
but
possible,
flags
yes.
that it is likely that if this doesn't eventuate, it's likely to seek renewal
Yeah.
of Kyle Street. Yeah, okay. I can make
Thank
that change.
you.
And can I just add, when I drove down there, it was a Saturday, and both streets were fully parked. Now, goodness knows what's going to happen once we take, well, the parking's gone. So some sites had cars on them, on site, but it was fully parked. You couldn't get a park in
Why
the
are you
street.
taking why are you saying the parks are not going to be there?
Well, the parking has gone now, so there's no requirement for councils to put parking on site.
In the district plan,
Yes.
you know,
so
that
this is just an
developments,
example
yeah.
of what.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Are you saying it's not an established street, Helen?
No, I'm saying that it's established a lot of cars there anyway, and then as we go forward in the district plan, when developers can build
yes,
units without parking on site, it's going to be worse.
Yes, I know. It's
Yeah,
going to
I know.
be devastating. I know.
Yeah.
I know. Anyway, enough said about that.
Yes.
Okay, feel free to take your hand down. Have you finished there, Helen?
Yes, I finished, thank you.
Okay, have you got all of that there, Faye?
I think so.
Yep, all captured.
Well done, Faye.
Lovely. Okay, so that was the last item on our draft submission. And just a reminder for everybody and anybody tuning in that these minutes will be in full and online when they're available. When would that be approximately, Faye?
Within 2 working days, we put them up. So as soon as they're done, but within 2 working days.
Yeah, lovely. Okay, so just moving right along now. Anybody, Mark? Yes, I can see your hand up.
Yeah.
Wanting to bring something forward that we perhaps didn't cover at our workshop that you'd like, and then so we've got Mark, and then we've got Helen, and anybody else? Mark, Helen, Gamal, was that a hand? No. Mark and then Helen. So far away there, Mark.
Yep. So back to what I was mentioning earlier, project 60099, which is on page 122 of the draft annual plan, which is the Springs Awatea Amy's intersection. The nominated figure there is 1.57 million. And was scheduled in the draft annual plan for 24-25 or later. Looking at the possibility to try and drag that forward somewhat.
When is it scheduled for? 2025, did you say?
24-25 or later.
24-25.
So it's in the never never land of the plan, really. So looking at the opportunity to see if we can bring that forward. And a project that potentially could have some funding reallocated from discussion with other elected members is 18371, which is Gloucester Street in the central city, between Manchester Street and Colombo Street, which I believe they're looking to beautify with cobblestones and unnecessary upgrade. That was to the tune of 3.4 odd million on page 114 of the draft annual plan, and whether we can lobby to have a look at switching those projects around to bring that much needed infrastructure upgrade into Springs Awatea Amy's, because that's one of these areas that's been overlooked as the massive growth in the southwest has happened and becomes a absolute nightmare around the peak hours. So if there's some way to get that moved forward and the other in the central city move back, that would be my thoughts.
The one in the central city that you're talking about, where they're wanting to gold plate the area, are you? When was that scheduled for?
That was scheduled for this coming financial, so 22-23.
Yes, there's 3.4 million this year, so I'd support making mention of it, and I imagine other boards will be as well. There's that money would likely be better prioritised in other different parts of Christchurch with more urgent needs. So
can I say though that's the area for the new Court Theatre and the Theatre Royal, so it's a kind of special precinct. It's a pity we can't find some other area which isn't a sort of special precinct.
Yeah, but then this is one that's been highlighted as a fairly wasteful spend, to be honest, at this stage. So it'd be good to get that used in other more appropriate areas around the city, including this intersection in Hornby.
If the precinct needs that to go ahead, I'm happy to take my words back. I don't believe it is reliant on all of that work to be done, but it's going to be raised this annual plan time around.
If you want to raise it,
we may as well make mention of it. The discussion needs to be had if there's other parts of Christchurch more desperately needing improvements to roads.
And perhaps Faye, if you're wanting to put something along the lines like that we're wanting to have that Springs Awatea Amy's brought forward from the 24-25 year to this current annual plan, and as an example of a project that we could consider removing, using that as an example, whether they use that particular one as an example, but we're providing them with one nonetheless.
I think that's a better approach, because I think you know, that normally where they're asking for boards to propose a compensatory project to be delayed, they're looking for something within their own wards, rather than somebody else's ward. But you know, I'm happy to write something up along those lines and see what you think, if everybody's agreed with that.
So sorry, can I just clarify one point? The Springs Awatea Amy's intersection is currently budgeted for 24-25. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Someone asked me today, so just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know.
So can you give me that project number again, Mark? I'm not sure I wrote it down right.
The Awatea Springs was 60099.
60099.
That's right.
Great. Yep. I think I had an extra zero.
And I guess another bit of narrative around that. That upgrade was proposed pre-earthquake, and so that's over 10 years ago, and it was sacrificed at earthquake time to make way for other priorities.
Okay. So originally proposed before the earthquakes. Yep. I'll put that.
And I had noted your hand up there, Helen. So I will get to you. But just another emphasis, if we could, on the fact, following on from what Mark just said, that we can emphasise the safety, that we're talking about safety here rather than...
Exactly.
I know Helen mentioned the precinct, but as long as we're putting in an example, even if they don't use that one, they know that we've thought about it, because we're emphasising the safety. Again, like Milnes, Sparks, etc., it's a really dodgy intersection.
And to be honest, that example we've offered up might well make way for not just Awatea Springs, but also the Milnes Sutherland. So,
depending on costs, of course.
Yeah, of course.
And of course, traffic engineers and planning, as we know, quite excessive in costs. So, Helen, what were you wanting to add there?
No, all I'm saying is, I don't want to add anything. I'm just saying, if we're about to wind up the meeting, you're going back to standing orders so that
yes, I will.
Pass.
Yes, I will. I just thought your hand was up to add something to what Mark was saying.
No, I'm fine.
No, she's all good. I've got that all under control. Yep, no problem. So thank you for that, Mark. That's a really important intersection to bring forward as well. So has anyone else got anything that we didn't bring up in our workshop that they're wishing to add?
Can I just wonder if we should make a statement, which we've done other years, and to say that we're a very fast growing board. I think Mike talks about it, but being the fastest growing board in the country, or the largest board in the country. So have a statement, something about that.
Well, I don't know about
all forms of growth. We've got both intensification and subdivisions. It's quite unusual compared to other parts of the city.
Intensification and growth, absolutely.
And subdivisions,
Where would you want to put that? I'll let you figure out where you wish to put that, Faye.
Yeah, well, we'll put it in somewhere and we'll decide if that's the best place.
Okay, so I think, will we remove Gamal's apology, because we've actually completed the meeting before he was delayed. So we can.
I'll just record that it was passed, if possible, and I'll record that Gamal. I mean, it'll be obvious that Gamal stayed to lead the meeting.
Yep, that's fine. And I think that's all.
So now we're needing to resume
standing orders. Absolutely. So I'll move that we move back to standing orders. Anybody would like to second that?
That's happy.
Mark seconding that. All those in favour?
Right.
Great. All of those against? None. Great. Thank you. Gamal, thank you. So once again, thank you, everybody. We've done that in really good time.
So we need to...
You need to pass a resolution.
Yes, there's a draft resolution up there, which I want me to put on the screen.
Oh, okay, that wasn't in my...
It's on the run sheet, Debbie.
Okay, I'm just looking for that. Got so many... Let me get on. Oh, yes, okay. Right, we've resumed standing orders. Okay, so our resolution is that the Waipuna Halswell-Hornby-Riccarton Community Board Submissions Committee receives the information in the draft annual plan 2022-2023 report. 2, decides that the committee will exercise its delegation authority to complete and lodge a submission on the draft annual plan 2022-2023 on behalf of the board. And 3, that we agree to delegate to the submissions committee chairperson to, in consultation with a committee member, finalise and lodge the board's submission. Who would like to move that?
I'll move that as well.
So Mark is moving that, and a seconder,
I'll second.
and Helen's seconding that. Wonderful. I didn't see that. Was that there on the screen? I went to look at it in my emails. Thank you so much.
I'm getting too
for all-
smart now.
Yeah, you're getting very clever, getting good with these Zooms. Thank you so much, everybody, for your input. We've done that in really good time. And
Thank you.
Gamal, go and enjoy yourself tonight.
Thank you.
Yes.
So I'll draft up that, on the basis of what's been discussed, and we'll get it out to everybody for a final round of consideration. This needs to be filed next week on the 14th, prior to Easter. So
Great. Thank you for all your work on
Thank
that,
you.
Faye. Much appreciated.
Yes, I know, it's very good.
And thank everybody for your input for tonight's annual plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,